Okay, today we're going to cover something new called slope. So what is slope? Well, slope is many different things, but it's basically a rate of change, which is what we already covered. But it's going to be the amount of change in the y value and divided by the amount of change in the x value. And once again, this is a ratio. You're comparing two quantities. We also call slope the rise over the run. And the rise is how much you go up and down in the y values. And x is how much you go left and right on the x value. So let's look at example number 1. Okay, let's look at example number 1. Here is a graph. The line goes upwards. And so in order to figure out the slope, we want to choose 2 points. I'm going to go ahead and choose those 2 points. And the slope is the amount of change, the y, divided by the amount of change in the x. So that's going to be the rise over the run. So let's figure out how much we rise from one point to the other. Now, does it matter which point you start with? No, you're still going to end up with the same slope. So let's figure out the rise. I'm going to go up. How many places do I go up? Well, I go up 3. And because I go up, it's going to be positive 3 because you're going towards the positive numbers. Now let's figure out our run. Our run is left and right. And so here we run. How many places do we run to the right? We run 2 places. And because we run to the right, it is positive 2. And so our rise is positive 3 and our run is positive 2. And then we need to simplify our fraction. Positive divided by positive is a positive. And 3 halves you cannot simplify because there's no 2 numbers that will divide. You can divide 3 and 2 by. Now, let's do the same problem, but choosing 2 different points. Now, do you think it's going to be the same slope, or do you think it's going to be larger, or do you think it's going to be smaller? Well, think about it. All right, while you think about that, I'm going to go ahead and choose 2 points. And I'm going to choose the outer 2 points. And so, let's figure out the rise over the run, which is our slope, which is the rate of change. So let's figure out, this time I'm going to go down. Now, I'm going down. And if I go downward for my rise, which is the y values, you either rise up or you rise down, it's going to be negative. And because I went 6 places, my rise is negative 6. Now let me run. Now I'm running to the left. Again, the run is the x values. If you run to the left, it's going to be negative. If you run to the right, it's positive. And because I ran 4 to the left, our run is negative 4. Now we need to simplify our fraction. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. And 6/4, well, we can divide 6 by 2, and we can divide 4 by 2. And so we end up with positive 3 halves, which is the exact same slope as the first problem where we chose 2 points that were closer to each other. So it doesn't matter which 2 points you choose on the line, you're still going to get the same slope. Now, I do want you to notice that these lines are going upwards. And so if you go up the stairs, your slope is going to be positive. So let's take a look at example number 3. Here, we don't have any 2 points labeled for us. So we got to make sure we choose 2 points that are on a node. So let's figure out the slope, the rise over the run. I'm going to choose these 2 points, which happen to be on nodes. And so let's figure out the rise. The rise is controlled by the y values. So let's rise. We're going to rise 1, 2, 3 places up. And so because we're going up, our rise is positive 3. Now let's figure out our run. Our run is our x values. And so we're going to run to the left. We're running to the left 1 place. And because we run to the left 1 place, our run is negative. And so it's negative 1. Again, if you run to the left, it's negative. If you run to the right, it's positive. In this case, our run is negative 1. And now we simplify our fraction. Our slope, positive 3 divided by negative 1, well, ends up being negative 3. Now notice how this line is going downward. You always want to double check. This line goes downward, so our slope is going to be negative. And as you can see, based on the numbers that I put into the slope, the rise over the run, our slope is negative. Now once again, let's do the exact same problem, but this time let's choose 2 different points. Let's figure out the rise over the run, which is the slope, and I'm going to choose these 2 points. This time I'm going to go downward, and I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. Because I go down 6, our rise is -6. We're rising downward, and that's a negative rise. Now we're gonna run. How much am I gonna run? I'm gonna run 2 places to the right. And because I run to the right 2 places, it's gonna be +2. And now we simplify our fractions. -6 divided by +2, well, negative divided by positive is a negative, and 6 divided by 2 is -3. And so our slope ends up being negative, just as we should be able to predict because the line goes downward. So this is our introduction to slope, and we're actually making something called the slope triangle, and hopefully we'll talk about it during class. Thank you for watching.